if you take the traditional notion of work and out of the purpose of what we are, what's left?
AI is growing so fast, right? So we have no idea what next year would look like, or in 5 years, what would the job market look like? What type of qualities do companies need? So how do we prepare for a future world that we can't even see?
There's some things that we can be reasonably sure about. You and I grew up in a system that was designed to shape us, sort us, channel us to different kinds of careers, where our purpose in life was defined by what we do, principally. In a world where knowledge is freely accessible, what you look for is something that is scarce and precious. What is it that we can do that the machines can't?
Love, trust, die. Such a privilege to have Tad with us. Oh my God, I've been expecting you, and
For 2 hours. That's part of the problem.
And I have been studying your stuff.
Oh my
gosh. God.
Just for 2 hours.
No, for days.
Oh, please
what
don't tell me that, Bonnie.
resume.
Come on.
You are the professor at NYU Stern.
I am an adjunct professor at NYU Stern. I have been for
Wow.
25 years, 24, 25, something like that.
You enjoy teaching?
Oh, I love it. I have over 1,000 former students, Bonnie. 1,000.
Wow. I have a question for you. AI is growing so fast, right? So we have no idea what next year would look like, or in 5 years, what would the job market look like? What type of qualities do companies need? So how do we prepare for a future world that we can't even see?
Well, there's some things that we can be reasonably sure about. The first is that the rate of change among both AI and robotics is parabolic, or if it isn't going to continue being parabolic, it was going to have to slow down very sharply. Second thing we can generally be sure of is that for many, many human tasks that are conducted every day at the office and the work, the machine is already better than we are.
Yeah.
Not perhaps so many general tasks. I mean, we're very flexible. We can shift around, but specific tasks, much better. And the third thing is, unless we believe there will be a disruption in the parabolic growth, that's going to be accelerating in its truth, and it's more widespread in 5 years. So what we have to look for is two things. One is, what is it that we can do that the machines can't?
What can we do? Love,
Love,
trust.
trust. You're on a roll. Go for 3 more.
Oh, empathy.
Empathy would be the third choice. Go. You've got 2 more in you. I know that you got this, Bonnie.
Wow, what can machines do?
Love, trust, empathy.
Give birth.
100% birth. Yeah.
Die.
Die.
Can they die?
Well, you have to be alive in order to die. So you raise a very interesting existential question. But before we do give birth and die, how about provide judgment?
AI can do that.
Yes, but do you trust it?
Well, if it's a basic task, yes.
Right. But
Right.
trust. Trust is really interesting. I guess you could trust your AI. You'll learn to trust it. How about do something inherently human? Dance, play, experience joy, go out on a gorgeous day, walk up the peak, whatever.
You don't
Go to the
need
National
to learn
Museum.
that. Do you need to learn that though?
Well, it's experience being a human being. And I don't think a machine can experience being a human being. Certainly the machines will tell you now they don't experience being a human being. Interestingly, we can't tell whether they're right, and they can't tell whether they're wrong. But that's a different story. So think about the possibility, just as a possibility. And we're all struggling with this because we don't know what's coming, right? But think about the possibility that you and I grew up in a system that was designed to shape us, sort us, and channel us to different kinds of careers, where our purpose in life was defined by what we do,
Yes.
principally. Now imagine that is not the only purpose for human beings, that in fact, for most of our history, what we do was actually a sideshow to who we are and how we experience life and the joy we pass on and the experiences we have and all of those things. And is it really, obviously there's going to be some challenges in transition and also, but is it really impossible to believe that if we strip away Bitcoin from Bonnie, we have somebody that is even more human than the one that is wired into the powerful frame that you now exhibit? I suspect yes is the answer.
But does it matter to other people?
Well, does it matter to you?
It matters to me, but
why?
It takes, because my identity is so much bigger than just, you know, doing podcast and my work, right? But you don't have time to go around and meet people and, you know, learn about their hopes and dreams and fears. But it's easier to learn their title and what they do. It's just...
Well, it's a shorthand. Yeah, it's exactly what you said. We use the, hi, what do you do, as a way of, almost a way to put you on a taxonomy of people. We meet people every day. We look at their resume, whatever it is we do. We find them on LinkedIn. We check them out on Twitter, check them out on Instagram, whatever it is, TikTok. And you're right. We put them in a category. And what I would pose to you is that you actually touched on the most important question that we're all going to face with the advent of the machine, which is if you take the traditional notion of work and out of the purpose of what we are, what's left?
Oh.
And moreover, how do we respond to what's left?
That is scary.
That's what you just said.
Yeah, I know.
And it's really powerful stuff, because when we look into the future, we can be incredibly optimistic, but we can't be presumably optimistic without some tinge of anxiety if we're honest with ourselves. And the reason, in my opinion, is because of what you just said, which is, wow, if you take the Bitcoin out of Bitcoin Bonnie, I have to think about what my identity means in a completely new way. And I worked so hard to get to this identity. And this identity is clear and understand how it fits in the context of what we're all doing. And now I have to think about a completely new one, and it's only because a machine came along and did my podcast better than I did.
I actually watched this interview long time ago, and they're like, I challenge you to go on a date with somebody without telling them what you do. Like, you cannot talk about your job. So who are you? What do you do? What do you like? What is your dream? It is very hard.
It's very hard, but it is possible. The question is whether it's worth doing. Is it? I mean, do you want to be with a partner that fundamentally is committed to doing something that in which you have no interest?
You know what? I'm actually not smart enough to answer this question. This is deep.
Well, you started.
Yeah,
I'm just following your interview rules. This is your show.
Wow. But okay, let's say you're teaching all these students.
I'm teaching them about art and AI.
Right.
Right.
What do you want them to take away? If you can...
3 things.
Okay.
Number 1, I want them to use AI in the classroom, out of the classroom, and I want them to show that they're using AI, and I want them to use it in preparation and on the fly. I want them to talk about their prompts. I want them to show us how they're using the prompts, how they're thinking about it. I want all of it disclosed. I want it out in the open. I don't want to be using blue books or anything, going back to handwriting, all that nonsense. I don't want any of that. I want them to use AI like it's their partner, like it's their coach. Number 2, I want them to get comfortable not learning by spending all their time digging into books, chasing down facts. We're talking about a class where suddenly you've got access to all the knowledge in the world and can write things instantly and can answer questions instantly. So this goes profoundly to what is the role of the student? Because that's what we spend our time on in education, right? And the third thing is I want to create an opportunity for, and this is particularly important with respect to what we're doing, which is art and the intersection of human creativity and the machine. I want them to think about all the things that you and I just began to think about right there, which is how do our values change? How does creativity change? What does it mean to be human? What does it mean to be an educated person in a world where knowledge is ubiquitous and essentially free? And that is a big, profound question. If they come out of that plus a little bit of understanding about how technology affects art, I will declare victory.
I asked people this question a while ago, but nobody could really answer me this question, which is, let's say everybody is now using AI. We have a whole generation of people. I'm talking to you. I'm not sure what to ask you, so I'm just going to ask AI. What should I ask? And you don't know how to answer my question, so you ask AI, how should I answer Bonnie's last question? Now, I'm not sure if this pause is, you know, polite. So I ask AI, is it okay in Tad's culture that I pause when I talk to him? Who am I now? Now I'm being controlled by AI. Everything I do, all the responses is formed by AI. Now I am being controlled. So you have a whole generation of kids just being trained by AI.
So
is that weird? That's
okay.
So
That's
strange.
The question. Is that weird?
I don't know. So
yes,
it's
it's totally discontinuous from our experience.
Right. But how does that look like?
But by the way, we have a whole lot of kids plugged into their phones now.
But they are not asking their phone what they should do or what they should eat.
Correct. You're on another important path, which is a very dystopic possibility about the future. Could be that we were talking humorously when I came in a few minutes ago about the red pill, blue pill. The blue pill begins to look pretty good.
Explain that.
Remember the red pill, it takes you off the matrix and you see the way things really are. And the blue pill, you happily go about your day and you have no idea that you're actually plugged into the matrix.
Right.
What you're describing is a situation where it might just be easier not to have to deal with what does it mean that I have to be independent and I have to create a purpose for myself that's independent. And moreover, I have to be the agent in what I say and do rather than just be told what I'm going to be doing by AI. My worry is that our humanity becomes a little bit less powerful because of the reason you said, which is we just wait around being told what to do. We can't get to that place.
But we are going to get there.
Well, no one really is sure. But I would agree with you, it is a risk.
And how does Bitcoin fit in this new AI era?
Well, in a world where knowledge is free, okay, think about how many things we invest in where what we're really investing in is superior knowledge or superior capability or superior IP or any of those things. But in a world where knowledge is freely accessible, what you look for is something that is scarce and precious. And this is not financial advice. We always like to say that, and it isn't. But in my way of thinking, Bitcoin is both scarce and precious and a spectacular store of value. So if you don't know where to put your money, I can't say where to put your money, but I'll tell you one thing. I would default to Bitcoin.
You are the former CEO of Sotheby's and Madison Square Garden.
Both, yes.
Insane.
Or each, yes.
This is like, this is what I was talking about, the perfect resume, which is you're the kid that all parents want their kids to be.
That's interesting. Some parents might. Parents have different aspirations for their kids.
Okay, well, you have a very good path.
I have a very traditional path. Princeton, Harvard, lots of corporate jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. And then
life was good.
My life, I've been blessed. My life's very good.
But then you start realizing that the money system is broken?
Yes.
How? Because if I am enjoying my life And I would like the situation to remain this way. I would not question the system.
Well, the way you frame the question, there are lots of pieces to it. But let me start with the first question you asked, which is, when was the realization that something was unusual going on, and why did it affect me? So the original realization was when I began to start listening to Raoul Powell and Michael Saylor and Dan Tapiero, three people you're probably familiar with, who were talking about something a little bit unusual to me, which was the effect of actual monetary debasement on investment portfolios. And it became clear to me that I had been thinking about wealth creation in ways that were not fully cognizant of the way the devaluation of money, not versus other currencies, versus goods and services and, crucially, assets. Of course, it was obvious to me that certain kinds of assets grow faster than the inflation rate. But houses, art, all sorts of things, gold, all these things. But what hadn't really occurred to me was the effect of debasement in terms of creating value versus, say, the stock market. And when it became clear to me that I had been viewing things not quite right, meaning I understood finance and I could do all sorts of fascinating things with finance, but that the foundation of money I had not built into the premise that it was constantly, inevitably, by government policy, devaluing versus goods, services, and assets in particular. The moment I hit that, bang, I'm like, wait, my entire theory of investing, my investing strategy is wrong. It's just wrong. And maybe the way I think about value is wrong. And so that's how I did it. But remember that that's the way somebody who has things to invest comes to it. That's not the way somebody who is trying to figure out how to buy a house or how they'll ever buy a house or how they'll pay for groceries. So in the sense that you pointed out, yes, I was lucky enough and blessed enough not to have those problems, but it still came to me. Admittedly, it's much, much more difficult for very, very successful people to see Bitcoin,
really,
in my opinion, than it is for people who aren't. And the reason is because what you said, which is the fiat system largely works for them. And so what they have to do is they have to be thinking about innovative ways to expand their investment horizons.
Very rich people can actually borrow money very cheaply, almost free, to buy more Bitcoin. Are we just replaying the old financial system, the injustice?
Well, very wealthy people can borrow, but it's not free.
Almost free.
It's not even almost free. It is. The rates are high right now. But what you do want to say is it's freely available. That's the difference. That's meaning that the big difference between people that have a whole lot of money and people that don't have a lot of money is the banks want to lend to the ones who have a whole lot of money.
Course.
It's the availability of credit. But the price of credit right now is still expensive. Does it change your answer? I don't know.
I don't know.
It doesn't change your question. So to the second part of your question, listen, insofar as Bitcoin has a purpose that is designed to make it possible for everyone to achieve a certain financial liberation, there is no question that the more concentrated the holdings of Bitcoin, the more in trouble that goal is.
Let's say something is really, really expensive. The price tag says it's $10 million. You naturally put more value on it. For some reason, let's say we have
available and good. Things that are more expensive,
right?
You value more highly. Yes.
Why? Why is that? And
very profound question.
Yeah.
So, of course, art has this quality.
Yeah.
And that's because we are social creatures. And moreover, not only are we social creatures, we like to establish our position vis-a-vis our other friends and colleagues and species, frankly. And in all sorts of different ways. And one of the ways is to show people new and innovative things. Another way, by the way, is to wear your hair differently or wear different clothes or do something interesting or do something flashy or be a podcaster. I mean, there are lots of ways to do it and have lots of followers. But one way also is to buy things that are unattainable in a way to signal that you've attained something. And by the way, even if you don't show them, sometimes it gives you a private sense of satisfaction that you did. It's like an achievement. And that comes from the fact we are inherently a social and mimetically driven species. And that's not going away. Okay, so let's make it a slightly more complicated example. You've got a piece that's worth $10 million, and it can be either $10 million at the price level or $200. Now, suppose a piece in this room of 20 people, and they can all afford $10 million. Suppose you then insert a piece of information into that room that tells you the thing's worth $5. And then suppose you send another piece of information that says, no, we made a mistake. We meant $50 million. The point is, how we think about price is in reference to what we think the value is. And in situations where you have a painting that you neither like nor you don't dislike and you don't like, you're sort of neutral on the painting. You're fundamentally going to have to look for reference points that will give you an anchor to think about what the price is in relation to. Because the last thing you want to do is spend $10 million for something that isn't worth $200. This is worth $200. So we inherently look for pricing reference points, and Bitcoin is all about that.
Tell me more.
Well, if you look at a house, for example, if you go back 8 to 10 years, a house priced in Bitcoin was quite a lot of Bitcoin, like in the hundreds of Bitcoin, like close to 700 Bitcoin 8 years ago. Today it's 5 for the median house price, at least in the United States. That says, and yet at the same time, we perceive houses to be more expensive than ever in dollar terms. Meaning, isn't the whole sort of meme, I don't know if it's true in Hong Kong, but it's true in the United States, the whole meme is nobody can afford a house. And yet in Bitcoin terms, it's become so affordable, it's almost ridiculous. So think about the reference point of Bitcoin as the unit of, as the standard measure of value there. And what you see is that Bitcoin has changed. Anyone who owned Bitcoin over that period of time has found housing very, very inexpensive. Very, very inexpensive. If you didn't, you found housing to be incredibly expensive. All of that is a reference point. In the one case, Bitcoin's a reference point, in the other, the US dollar is.
So we used to use US dollar. Now
we use it now, by the way. I mean, you use Hong Kong dollars and Taiwan dollars. Yeah, exactly.
But are you seeing a world that would change to the Bitcoin standard? Or are we still the minority?
Well, there are two things to, let me split the question into pieces. One is, do I see the dollar's role as a mechanism of currency exchange and transmission going away in the near term? No. Do I see people thinking about what goods and services and assets in particular around them are going to be versus Bitcoin as a store of value? Yes, I do see that accelerating. I think that is a really powerful tool, because if you begin, Bonnie, to think about your entire life as, if I'm going to spend X dollars on this, I have to sell Bitcoin to do it, because otherwise I would take those dollars and buy Bitcoin. That means everything to you conceptually is priced in Bitcoin. And let me tell you something. If you start pricing everything in Bitcoin and you want to get more and more Bitcoin, you're going to be buying a lot less of other stuff.
Yeah.
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 There's a whole lot of things you're going to want to buy that you used to buy that you don't want to buy anymore if you think about every single one of those things is going into Bitcoin.
How do I enjoy my life if that is the case? Like, if my ultimate life goal is to just accumulate as many Bitcoin as I can, but I only have one life.
Well, I would urge you, not that you've asked for advice. This is not financial advice. This is just advice. That someone as obviously talented and charismatic as you can come up with a more exciting life purpose than just accumulating as much Bitcoin as possible. Bitcoin is an enabling thing to something else. So the question for you is, how do you make that something else really special? Mm-hmm. That's someone older speaking to someone on her way up in a blinding flash of glory.
Thank you. If you give your kids advice, would you say, well, your earlier point was pretty much all in Bitcoin then? Like, except for your expense.
I have a lot of things other than Bitcoin, but I made a choice to do that. Now, interestingly, I did sell my wine collection and convert it into Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. And the reason I did is because I'm not drinking very much. It's, you know, I love wine. I love French Burgundies in particular. I mean, I love French Burgundies. But I'm just not drinking less because I'm more focused on the health. And it's not a good store of value compared to Bitcoin. It's a beautiful store of value, but I mean, great, but Bitcoin's better, so I bought Bitcoin.
So the question would be, if Bitcoin is such a superior asset, why don't you sell everything else and just buy this?
Because then I would have nothing else.
That's the balance, right? Enjoy life. Do you want to own other things?
Yeah, but Bitcoin is not the end of the end purpose of my life. Mm-hmm. It is an enabling purpose. It is a way to outrun the money printer. It's a way to force yourself to save and invest. It's a way to provide you with opportunities, to give your kids opportunities. It's a philosophy of independence. It is all these different things. And self-actualization, if you will, take that word too. Those are all the things. But notice that life purpose isn't on the list. Mm-hmm. Bitcoin is not. It may be, by the way, let's do Michael Saylor as an example. Michael Saylor may have his life purpose to spread the gospel of Bitcoin and empower many millions of other people, and I think he's been doing that. That's a life purpose. I get that. But for me to accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible, interestingly, I don't even think that's his life purpose. I don't know. I've never asked him, but I think his life purpose is to spread the gospel of Bitcoin and try to help more people solve big problems, both in their lives and more generally, by having more Bitcoin. And Strategy, the company, is a means to that. And it's interesting because he has stated publicly he wants to give it all away when he passes away. He wants to, give it all away, and or put it all in, put it all in a foundation or something like that. And my perspective on it is that tells you even his life purpose is bigger than Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. Meaning it's not Bitcoin, it's Bitcoin to an end, and the end is a higher purpose. It's a human purpose.
What could the higher purpose be? Teaching people how the financial education we were taught is broken?
Well, you do that now.
Yes, I do that.
And that is a higher purpose. And by the way, it's a noble and important purpose.
It's crazy how Bitcoin changes how I view money.
Good.
And
that's good.
It's also crazy how many people out there don't know about this.
That's exactly why your purpose is important.
Yeah.
But that's that's my point. You have a purpose that's bigger than Bitcoin. Bitcoin is an input, an operational input to your purpose. Your purpose is to provide, honestly, financial pathways to freedom and to realization of bigger goals to all the people who at the moment don't see that.
Can you summarize what is the biggest problem to our financial education nowadays? In Asia, it could be, hey, save up and buy a house, because that is a symbol of being successful, right? And if you don't have a house, you're not really supposed to get married. You're not considered an adult.
I can't make a broad sweeping statement, but I'll make one that applies to me, which is you can learn finance without learning how to deal with or manage money.
Okay. But that's like, I'm learning something I have never had.
Finance and how to manage money are different.
One is more like banking.
One is, well, banking, financing companies, doing all those things. It's very numerical and it has to do with money and it has to do with finance. But that's different from managing your money.
Okay. Tell me the
Managing your money is how you really manage yourself in a world of scarce resources. That's a completely different question. And by the way, it's true that those resources are measured in money, so we're talking about how you manage money. But how to manage money is how you manage yourself. For example, do you spend more than you bring in? Do you work hard, earn more than you bring in, and then you put it in instruments that either lose money or lose traction against the broader market or, frankly, don't make any sense? Do you provide for the people that are relying upon you to provide for them? Those are how you manage money. That's very different.
So most people...
Not most people.
Most people know how to manage money? Or
I don't know whether most people know how to manage money or not. But I'll tell you one thing. I can tell you that there are a lot of people in the world who do not know how to manage money.
Of course.
Yeah.
But most people also do not understand finance.
Well, so aspects of finance, capital asset pricing model.
Yeah, but that's it.
Well, no, there are other things. Black-Scholes theorem. There are
would you say most
portfolio
people
arbitrage
understand?
Theory. The Sharpe ratio. There are a long list of things that are highly technical finance terms that are very useful in the modern financial world that are different from managing money. Understanding how Bitcoin fits into your life is a question of how you manage your life in a world of scarce resources, and that's a question of how you manage your life's money, your own money.
How would you define money?
Money for me is either a store of value, a medium of exchange, or a unit of account. That's pretty basic stuff.
Is it also a way to store your time and energy?
Yes. When I work hard, I invest time, and I get money in return. The money allows me to buy other things or to do other things or do whatever I want, or, by the way, invest in more money to create more money. But that is a way to have converted my energy, my work, into a storage unit, money, that I can then redeploy to something else. Yes, so money is an encapsulation of my time and my effort, my time and my energy deployed. Oh, and by the way, often my intelligence, right? And I don't mean intelligence IQ, I mean just actual thinking work.
Imagine this world. There's no fiat system, okay? There's only Bitcoin. And let's say Bitcoin money is a store of human energy, time, effort, intelligence, everything that we just mentioned. How does that world look like? Because everybody is fighting over a limited resource. Unlike fiat, there's no limit to it, right? You just feel like you have abundant of fiat money being printed. So you don't really have to fight over something. It's not that $1 I earn is not from you, but in this world where money is capped, the 1 Bitcoin I own is supposedly taken from you. Or if I own this one, then there is no way you can own the same one. How does that world look like? Are we going to be more competitive? Is this world going to be a little more evil?
Well, you'll be pleased to hear I'm much more optimistic than that. It's true that there are only 21 million Bitcoin, but each of those has literally millions and millions of Satoshis.
Right.
And you can imagine that the difference between the fiat world and what you're describing as a Bitcoin standard world, is not that money is limited. I'll come to that in a minute. I know you're questioning that. It's instead that money appreciates in value versus everything else, not depreciates. So, for example, suppose we didn't focus on Bitcoin, we focused on Satoshis.
Okay.
Satoshis right now are very, very inexpensive versus the dollar. Very, very inexpensive. And over time, they're going to get more and more and more and more and more expensive versus the dollar.
Yeah.
So until we can no longer, until it becomes one Satoshi equals a cup of coffee, there's plenty of subsets of the Bitcoin standard to use for currency. See that? Mm-hmm. And by the way, if at some point in the far future where Satoshis, we don't have enough of them, well, let's do, I don't know, Desa Satoshis or Centa Satoshis, where we break them into another 100 because each of them is increasing in value. And so the way to think about it is the big difference between the fiat world and the Bitcoin world is that money gets more valuable in the Bitcoin world and money gets less valuable in the fiat world.
I love this conversation because it's not only about Bitcoin and finance and money. It's also about life.
Well, that's the point of what you're doing.
Yeah.
As far as I can see. Your point is to help people have better lives with Bitcoin as an operational element to that. And guess what? That's a good purpose. And so back to the question you asked me originally, what are we going to do? Well, as human beings, having a purpose is inherently human. And by the way, the machines don't have one except what we give them. Second point, choosing to help others. While it is true machines can help others, it's not obvious they can choose to help others independent of us. We have to tell them to choose to help others. And then finally, you can enjoy helping others. And maybe the machines can do that. Maybe they can fool us into thinking they can. But unless we somehow figure out a way for them to do it, or they figure out a way for them to do it, only human beings can do that. And so the three basic elements of what you're trying to do will still be here.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me. I love Hong Kong. Every time I come, I say, oh my gosh, greatest city in the world. Thank you for hosting me here.
Thank you. Thank you.